This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. The timing of this story I'm about to cover couldn't be more convenient. Of course, the mainstream media is covering a letter written by Osama bin Laden to the U.S., and the articles and the headlines out there saying bin Laden's letter to U.S. stuns young Americans. Quote, he was right. This is propaganda at work right here. And the whole thing is hilarious because this letter wasn't even written by bin Laden, because he wasn't even alive at the time that it was written, because he wasn't even alive at the time that those buildings were demolished via a demolition. Okay? So they're releasing this letter by design. Now remember, America needs to be looked at as the big bully in the world. And we're already doing that from the standpoint of from within. People hate America, right? Americans hate Americans. Americans hate the forefathers. This is all done by design by the New World Order for the destruction of America. Okay, that's why they've been using lingo like the great American experiment, etc., is over. So they release propaganda like this conveniently, right? This story just comes out of the blue. The Guardian releases an article about a letter that bin Laden wrote. And of course, the mainstream media is saying, oh, young Americans think he might have been right. So this world's become so inverted that even the fake propaganda about bin Laden from the first place is being twisted to make bin Laden look like he was actually a good guy, even though he wasn't even involved in the event in the first place. And the people behind it were actually our own country was behind the destruction of those buildings, as well as the people who are supposedly victims over in the land of bagels. They were behind it, working together, coordinating it. So listen to this article. I'm reading to you directly from Newsweek. And if the article's not on the screen, it means that I struggled to get the video up with the article on because the algorithm was reading the article title. So all one has to do is just Google, DuckDuckGo, whatever your search engine is, and type in, you could type in bin Laden letter, U.S. letter, American letter, bin Laden, and it pops up Washington Post, Newsweek. It's unbelievable how this propaganda machine works. This letter was supposedly written in 2002. I'll read you the article right now, but I mean, the fact that it's circulating right now, and people are like, can you believe it's circulating right now? And why are some people censoring the letter? Because they're controlling your hive mind. That's why, because that's how this thing works. A decades-old document allegedly written by Osama bin Laden entitled Letter to America recently went viral on TikTok, with some young Americans believing that the Al-Qaeda founder made valid points about their own country. So we have people in this country siding. And again, the whole narrative with bin Laden is obviously fake. It's all made up. He wasn't even alive when this all went down. Okay, whatever your take is on Bill Cooper, when he exposed this when it was going on, he talked about it weeks in advance that it was going to happen on that specific day, and how this guy wasn't even alive anymore, and they were going to blame it on him because he wasn't alive, and they needed the perfect scapegoat, which would be him, because he's somebody that nobody would run into at a restaurant or a bar over in the Middle East because he's nowhere to be found. Right? So when you make the guy responsible, the boogeyman responsible, literally a dead person, well then, you could go on for 10 years before you have to pull the carpet out and say, oh, we found him, we killed him, oh, yay! And all the suckers out there believe it. So the 2-page document, which was published by The Guardian, is a letter that he wrote in 2002 as a polemic against the U.S., and an explanation of the ideology that led him to orchestrate the attacks on that 11th day of September. Even though when he wrote this supposed letter in 2002, he was long dead. While the incendiary document is now 21 years old, some have seen the text as a way to make sense of current world affairs, including the bagel and hummus war. Bin Laden's words have been described as mind-blowing and a revelation. A search for letter to him. It shows you too how they could take minds and change perspectives and warp minds so quickly. Only 21 years, or what is it? Is that what I say? 21 years old, this letter, right? Look how the mindset has changed. People are agreeing with this guy, even though this guy didn't even write the letter, isn't responsible for what they claim he's responsible for. Now we have Americans who are agreeing with him, saying that we need to destroy America. Because again, remember, the New World Order blueprint, destroy America. And they're actually asking Americans to destroy it themselves. And they are. They're called Democrats. These people are completely brain dead. And of course, they're the most narcissistic people, so you can't get through to them about what's going on. And when they find out what actually is going on, they'll never believe it because they're too narcissistic to believe it. So anyway, let me continue. A search for Letter to America on TikTok shows that some of the most popular related clips have over 1 million views each. It's wild, and everyone should read it, said one TikTok user, warning that the letter had left her very disillusioned and confused. Another user talked of having an existential crisis after the document and after reading the document and having her entire viewpoint on life changed by it. That's how easy it is to warp the minds of these idiots. Okay? They don't think for 1 second of why this is out. Is there actual proof that this guy wrote? Of course not, because there wasn't proof that he was alive, because he wasn't. Right? All they have to do is release a story like this in the middle of a created war, which all ties into Albert Pike's teachings, all the stuff of how they were going to create the World War, following it to a blueprint. Instead of them researching that or listening to people like us, they're just the Guardian puts out an article from his supposed letter, and everyone's like, my mind's blown. My perspective on the world has changed. We're the enemy. We're the problem. America's the problem, right? Incredible how easy it is to warp these people, to manipulate these people, to herd these people. Quote, it's actually so mind-blowing to me that terrorism has been sold as this idea to the American people, that this group of people, this random group of people, just suddenly wakes up one day and just hates you. It doesn't make sense, said a TikTok user. I love how this Newsweek is quoting TikTok users. It's incredible, it really is. A few TikTok reactions to the letter show users recreating their joy at learning of bin Laden's death in 2011, then contrasting it with their shock at reading the letter in 2023, adding the phrase, he was right. Bin Laden, the son of a wealthy Saudi businessman, founded al-Qaeda, or quote, the base, in 1988 following the Soviets' defeat and withdrawal from Afghanistan, a conflict in which he fought. Under his leadership, the group launched several deadly attacks and bombings in various nations, including the attacks on the 11th day of September 2001, where terrorists hijacked 4 airliners in the eastern U.S., crashing them against the two, you know the whole story. I don't want the algorithm to read it, but, you know, the 11th day of September, right? He orchestrated it, of course, supposedly, even though nobody asked about how these people were funded. They just go, oil! Oil funded them. Oh, right. And who led this, these people are supposed to be like living in caves and they have the ability to do all this stuff. It's unbelievable. Our own government orchestrated the entire thing, of course, because our own government hates us. And, of course, our government works directly for with Bagelville. So, yeah, let's continue. So the attacks on that day of September on the 11th killed nearly 3,000 Americans. In the letter, bin Laden accused the U.S. of being responsible for the oppression of Palestinians because of its support of Bagelville. Quote, the creation and continuation of Bagelville is one of the greatest crimes, and you are the leaders of its criminals. Each and every person whose hands have become polluted in the contribution towards the crime must pay its price and pay for it heavily. The Saudi-born militant then wrote that Palestinians had to be revenged along with the people of Afghanistan. The U.S. Purported role in the oppression of Palestinians and Muslims, according to bin Laden, was a justification for the murdering of American civilians. And before I continue, let me just say this, right? Because I talked about this when all this stuff started. Somehow they've convinced, so liberals who were always the people who would scream anti-you-know-what, right? They're always, and they still do. But they've herded them to be pro-Palestine, and they've herded Christians and conservatives to be pro. So they've even managed to work this into the civil division and civil unrest. They've even managed to do that, where Bagelville can even come out and be a villain in the eyes of these people. I mean, it's unbelievable how easily they're able to warp the minds of these people. They can flip an article out there like that, and these people are completely they're in awe of a letter that this guy wrote. There's no proof of the letter, just like there's no proof that he was alive at the time. And there is actual proof of his death well before it occurred, if anyone's interested. And you could dig that up. Of course, that'll get a quick flag here. But here's a quote from this man. The American people are the ones who pay the taxes, which fund the planes that bomb us in Afghanistan, the tanks that strike and destroy our homes in Palestine, the armies which occupy our lands in the Arabian Gulf, and the fleets which ensure the blockade of Iraq. This is why the American people cannot be innocent of all the crimes committed by the Americans and the Bagels against us. The Guardian has since deleted the letter without offering an explanation. Well, here's the explanation as to why the Guardian put this out. It's called gaslighting, okay? That's why. They put this out there to gaslight people, to work people over, and then, of course, what really ignites that gas is them removing the article. Because then people are like, oh my gosh, it was the truth. They deleted the article that was in The Guardian, which is another one of these garbage websites, garbage news outlets that's controlled by the people responsible for everything wrong in the world, right? It's a New World Order media hand. That's what it is, right? And like they took it down, so there must be truth in it, of course. Goes on to say the page now has a message reading. This page previously displayed a document containing, in translation, the full text of Osama bin Laden's letter to the American people, as reported in the Observer on Sunday, the 24th of November, 2002. The document, which was published here on the same day, was removed on the 15th of November, 2023. At the same time of its original publication, the letter was described by The Guardian as a chilling new message from Osama bin Laden that was being circulated among British Islamic extremists, calling for attacks on civilians and describing the Islamic nation as eager and let me say this, eager and martyrdom. Let me say this, okay? People need to just look at these stories and realize every time they come out that they are working you. Okay, if we destroy the mainstream media, all the problems in the world vanish. It's the meme I constantly were talking about on the website about, I posted over there, the Amish. All this stuff has been going on with the outbreak over the last couple of years. It was a meme of an Amish guy on his farm, and he goes, "Hey, did you get the magic potion?" or something along those lines. And he's like, "What are you even talking about?" Because they didn't even know that it was going on, because without the television set, nobody would have known that anything was going on without the internet and the TV. Because the media created it all in everybody's mind. So if we destroy that, then all the problems go away, okay? But the problem is that people believe in the media. Even the conservatives who think they're awake to fake news believe in the fake news, which is Fox News. It's all fake news, all of it. All the stories are fake. It's all to herd you. It's all so that they can process your brain the way they want to process. They want you to think this way, herd you that way, okay? If these people out there realized it, this thing would be over, right? I've mentioned it many times. It's like the movie They Live, right? They destroy the satellites, right? So the messaging is no longer out there. The mind control is no longer out there. Nobody would know any of this stuff was going on if they weren't getting herded into it and they weren't getting gaslighted into it. So the removal of the document from The Guardian and from their website has led to accusations of a conspiracy to cover the truth. The Guardian told Newsweek the transcript published on their website in 2002 has been widely shared on social media without the full context. Therefore, we've decided to take it down and direct readers to the news article that originally contextualized it instead. However, many on social media have taken issue with those seeing any merit in the letter, with one describing people finding truth in the letter as ridiculous. Another asserted that the letter might be part of a deliberate trend manipulation campaign. You think everything out there is a manipulation campaign. Everything from the mainstream, every side of the mainstream, all of it. Newsmax, Fox News, hurting one side. Every other mainstream thing's hurting the other side, right? I mean, do people realize why they put this out? And then people are like, oh, some people say they're hiding the truth from us. And other people are like, oh, it's ridiculous. And what does that do? It just keeps you divided. It keeps you just angry at one another instead of the people responsible, right? They're all meeting in San Francisco right now. Of course they are, probably all on that Hershey Highway as we speak. What are they doing there? They're plotting the destruction of our country as well as the other countries, okay, and the globalist government. They're plotting and discussing openly how they can manipulate us and hurt us and use mind control over us, and this is a perfect example. When stories like this come out, people don't go, why is this out? Why is this trending? And why are people siding with the guy who supposedly hit those towers? Oh, well, because now Americans can just continue to look at other Americans as the enemy, because that's what's being done by design. Civil unrest, civil war, civil division, dividing us into states where they've gotten it to the point where nobody can be around one another, right? And if somebody's the opposite political affiliation, you can't be around them. They're different species. That's how both of them view each other, right? Different species, can't be near them. This is all done by design. So this article being released and being promoted and trending is done by design. And it's like it's the way that they do it by like taking the article down. Then people are like, oh my gosh, now they're trying to censor truth. That's how they work, these idiots. They work them and work them and work them. It's the same thing I said. And look, you can look at me and say what you want. Because I get sounding like a hypocrite because I do get censored. I do get removed. Okay, but when these big people, I'm not a big person, okay? I haven't been a big influencer on YouTube or whatever you want to call it in a long time, okay? These big people like Russell Brand and all these other guys, these people, when they come out and they say that they're censored, it works. Okay? It doesn't work for someone like me because I'm literally censored where I just get deleted. You don't find out I'm being censored or deleted. You just think I killed myself or I vanished. That's what everybody just thinks. These people do that. So when the Guardian comes out with this thing, they're like, oh my gosh, somebody told the Guardian to take it down or they were going to go to jail. It was real truth. We got to find that letter. And all these people continue to be divided. Now they're actually siding in this country. It just shows you, because that'll make the conservatives even more irate, right? Because they're using the 11th day of September in this entire mind control operation with this war, right? They're bringing all this stuff back up. We've heard all the talking points on the website. I covered it. How many times they're calling it Bagelville's 11th day of September over and over and over, right? So they're revoking these memories. They're bringing up Pearl Harbor, all by design. So now Americans are looking at us and they go, I can't believe these other Americans, these privileged, spoiled, liberal kids are siding with this guy who did this in our country on that day. I mean, it's so easy to see, but they don't see it. So this is your latest propaganda piece. Really, for people out there, like, how do we stop this? Like, can we get them? Here, I say shut your devices off, but the problem is that we could shut ours off, but it doesn't change the rest of the world. This is the enemy of humanity, the mainstream media. All the media outlets, even the ones who pretend to be fringe, like the Russell Brands, the YouTuber, they're all bought and paid for. They're all working here. They're just giving you a different perspective on a different platform, but it's not really a different perspective. They're pretending like I'm in my basement. I'm Russell Brand. I'm in my living room talk. It is all the media. And don't consider me that, because I'm not media. I'm literally, but the mainstream media, cut them off. Because look, if we shut all the media off, I don't need to do this no more, because everybody will wake up. I could just go wipe my hands clean, If we shut it all down, that stops all of it from occurring. You wouldn't even know about fake outbreaks anymore. You wouldn't know about potions, because you would say, what would I need that for? Because you wouldn't be psychologically warped and think that something was happening when it wasn't. You wouldn't know about anything going on in other countries. They wouldn't be able to create these events, because remember, they use a lot of CGI and things like that to make these wars. We all know that, right? It's like Wag the Dog. So if we didn't have the television, we didn't have the internet, the mind control would be broken. The control would be broken. And yeah, I would even be able to step away and be like, I don't have to do it anymore. I don't need to. Because now all these people are realizing that it's all made up. And they're feeling a lot better about life because the media and the government aren't infringing in their brains every single day. And everybody gets their mental health back and everybody's living normal lives again. That's what it would take. The destruction of the media. All of it. And again, there probably is going to be some type of psyop around the destruction of the media, because it's going to end up being one giant state-run media, and they're going to try to build credibility behind it, et cetera, et cetera. And suckers will fall for it because, suckers, what is the saying? Stupid is as stupid does. Well, same with suckers, right? You can't teach somebody to be stupid, but they've trained many people without them knowing that they are so stupid because they believe everything they see. So you can't necessarily train it, but they've created this illusion in people's minds where everything they think is real is not. Everything is flipped, and everything that's fake is real, right? So all the stuff we see in the movies is actually, there's a lot of truth behind that. Everything on the news, all orchestrated, created on a green screen. It's incredible. So anyway, rant over, but back to the story about the letter. The letter leaks, nobody's suspicious, and again, what happens just continues to draw a wedge between civilians in the United States of America, which is exactly what they want, because America has to crumble for this new world order to rise from the ashes, so to speak, like the phoenix. A reminder, if you're still listening, please sub to my backup channel now if you haven't yet. Trying to get more subs over there so I can build that out. I appreciate everybody who's here. Hope you're all well. God bless you as always, and your families.